They did, with my training with them, they weren't very great about it, but I think they were trying to get across some of the differences that Chinese students, some of the different expectations that students from China might have from students in America. But no, they didn't really go in depth about that. That was more me noticing. No, I would say they didn't give much at all.
Can I ask, in terms of, did your education, your master's in did it prepare you at all to work from home? Do you think your education prepared you to work virtually in any way?
The master's program I did was accelerated. It was done in 1 year, but at the same time as full-time classes and online classes, we were all interning at a public school. So I would work 9 to 3 or 9 to 4 or whatever it was at the public school as a building substitute. So some days I was covering classrooms all day, some days I was the music teacher, some days I was the gym teacher, just wherever they needed me. And I'm thinking through my classes, I don't think any of them dealt with remote working or no, they definitely emphasize computer skills, because now in most schools you'll see at least smart boards and things like that, and it's not personal computers. Some schools will have every student has their own iPad or has their own laptop. That's definitely taking it to an extreme. But no, none of them have ever mentioned anything about remote education. I guess that idea hasn't really caught on in the United States as much.
Do you think there are unique skills and competencies required to do remote education that you think, training either in graduate school or that they should sort of focus on, or that should be covered? In other words, do you think it warrants, are there unique competencies to remote education that warrants, having kind of dedicated time to training people, future educators to learn?
No, I don't think so. Because this is just such a niche in the market. Now, if this were to open up to the American or North American market for teaching children, I could see after school publicly funded education programs being, instead of having children that require either extra work or more challenging work, instead of moving them from school to school and grouping them and hiring somebody to be there for them, after school, they log on to a classroom. There's 20 of them throughout the state. And, they each get one-on-one time with one person that works from home. I have no idea if that will ever catch on, but I could see that working. Would there be any specifics to learn that specifically? Absolutely. I think computer literacy would be number one. But do I think that those warrant specific education? Yet no. I think the degree program I went through was accelerated. You do that, then you pass practice 2, then you get your state licensure to teach in a public school, because that's where you make the most money, and that's what everybody is going for. And none of that entails remote work right now. So, no, I don't think they should have done anything different.
Okay. And then let me ask you, the last question I have is about your work-life balance. And specifically, you've already sort of touched on your work-life balance a bit, but I want to ask you about if working virtually has changed your engagement with your local community in any way. Do you think it's increased or decreased? Has it had any impact on how you, your involvement with your local community, whether it's spending more in terms of your economic, let's say, involvement or social or anything like that?
I would say in my case it's probably increased, because I was spending the majority of my day a few cities away, spending some more money over there than when I wasn't working over there. My community involvement, I'm not very involved in the community, but I, for what it's worth, I do feel more like I'm from where I'm living now because I'm working here. Even though I'm not technically paying local taxes on this money yet. I still need to talk about that, figure that one out for the end of the year. But I was paying local taxes on my paycheck, because you pay based on where you live, not based on where you work. So yeah, my my tax funds to the state have gone down, but my time spent in this area has gone up. And so for whatever reason, feeling like where I'm from, I felt more so that than when I started working from home than when I was working in another city. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's really very interesting, actually. Thank you. Mr. Hebowitz, is there anything we didn't talk about that you think would be useful for me to know in terms of how remote work has impacted your expenditures or how it's impacted your community involvement, your work-life balance? Is there anything we didn't talk about that you think would be helpful for me to know?
No, I don't think so. Really, I think my story focuses around the difficulties I've had with depression and social anxiety, and I kind of fell into what I'm doing now because I couldn't do what I was trying to do before. So it's not so much that I had a grand idea in my mind and I was going after that. I was more just trying to pick up the pieces and keep on moving. Right. I think that would only apply to work-life balance more than anything. So just not having to leave my house and not having to have those added stresses of the commute and dealing with coworkers. That's been great for me. I think that's been the biggest focus for me.
And then, Mr. Hebowitz, I have a couple of background. That's very helpful. I'm wondering though, do you feel that working from home has increased your sense of isolation and exacerbated any, of the kind of
I don't think so.
Okay.
I could see that somebody thinking that or not being true for other people. But there are some days I don't leave the house. There are some weeks where I'll only go grocery shopping or just visit family. And so I'll only leave maybe, let's say, 4 days out of the week. But that, at least for me, that hasn't been a problem. That's been me being allowed to do what I would prefer to do. There were, of course, days and weeks when I was working at the daycare when I just felt like getting out of bed is going to be the toughest thing I do today, and then getting in the car and then putting on that smile and then, trying to do a job that I was passionate about in a situation, in a setting that made it very difficult. No, I don't think it's been a negative. I think it's been only a positive for me.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I was just curious if, that's something I've come across in terms of the social isolation, and so I appreciate it. Mr. Hebowitz, I have a couple of background questions that I'd like to ask you, and these are just some basic demographic questions. I've written them in multiple choice form, and so I can just ask you the question and read off the answers, but if you can just shout out the answer if you want. And of course, if you want to skip any of the questions, that would be fine too. The first question is your race. The options are Caucasian, Caucasian, and then your ethnicity, Hispanic Latino or non-Hispanic Latino?
Non-Hispanic Latino.
And then your age. Sorry?
Is white an option? I don't know if, wait. White. Whatever white is. I don't know if you meant Latino but non-Hispanic or non-Hispanic but not Latino or Hispanic and Latino. There's neither option. Okay, yeah. Non-Hispanic, non-Latino. Okay, perfect. Yeah, okay, thank you. Sorry about that. And what is your age range? Your age range, is it less than 25, between 25 and 34, 35 and 44? Between 25 and 34.
And then, 25 and 34. And then your high school, your level of education, it's MA degree, is that correct? Your highest level of education?
Masters of Science. Yeah, I think so. MA.
An MS, okay. And then your annual...
I'm not sure, one of those.
Okay, MA or MS. Okay. And your annual salary range, excluding benefits, is it less than 25, between 25 and 35?
Less than 25, for sure.
Okay. And so, I think those are all the questions that I have. Mr. Hebowitz, thank you so much for taking your time to do this. I really appreciate it. I learned a lot from this interview, and, I'm happy to share with you the results of any, publications that come out of this research. If you'd like, I can put you on a list, and, once I'm done, I'll definitely done with collecting the research, writing it up. I'm happy to send you the results.
Great, that'd be nice.
Great, thank you. I really appreciate it. And again, if you want, I'll send you the FlexJobs website and the other one